So, I watched The Duke of Death and His Maid, and oh my god, ladies and gentlemen, this is a must-watch, wholesome wonder show. Oh my god, we just made one of these, like a couple days ago. Yes, I was immediately looking for kind of a fluff anime, just some sort of nice, warm, quick, like check out. Maybe it's good, maybe it's not. I just want to get away from like the more intense shows that required me to think a lot and all that. And The Duke of Death, man, is it. It is such a beautiful, wonderful, wholesome, warm show. I don't know how you can watch this and not just be like, that's cute. That's pretty cute, man. I don't know what to tell you. That's cute. Or just be like, oh, that's so sweet. And then also they contrast it with, the classic anime lewdness, but it is what it is. Frankly, I don't even, is what it is. But the just like hopeless romantic person in me is just like, so nice. But, ladies and gentlemen, if you do know the show and you know what I'm talking about, it is going to have a season 2. It was one of those wonderful shows that ended with them being like, so you like this show, huh? Yeah, we're working on the second season as we speak. None of this like, will we continue, or leaving it on a cliffhanger and you'll never see it again. Nightmare. Instead, they said, no, there is going to be a season 2. People are saying expect it. I googled it, found an article. They basically said expect it somewhere around fall 2022. So we don't actually have to wait that long. I've said this before, and delays happen, and pain is inevitable. But hopefully it'll come up pretty soon. It is the CGI thing. In fact, let's get into that. If I could sell this show to you as much as I possibly could, let me first just tell you the premise before I get into that. What is The Duke of Death and His Maid? It is a CGI, weird, charming show that has like the Transylvania kind of like vampire, like industrial kind of age, like look to it, where there's dukes, there's kings, there's queens, all these things. So, that is the kind of world that we're going to jump into, along with curses, witches, and all those kinds of things. That's the world of The Duke of Death. Now, what the premise of the show is that there was this boy who is part of this aristocratic family, etc., and ended up getting cursed by this witch, to the point where anything he touches dies instantaneously. Everything. Plants, yes. The only thing that seems to be a limitation is like anything that would hinder the plot too much, to like clothes. Clothes do not get affected, it seems like, but anything that has a quote-unquote life, plants, humans, animals, die within one touch. Now, the show always starts with the basically subheader of this thing, which is the boy was cursed by this witch to where he may never know the touch of the one he loves, essentially, is the premise. And when this happened to this small, innocent boy, his mother only complained that this happened, calling him death incarnate. And that's kind of the subheader of the show. Really quick, really concise. We've probably heard it to death if you watch the show. Needless to say, this makes this happy, jovial, childlike wonder within the boy spiral out of control and just turn into a depression, into an isolation, into everything. And eventually we pick up a couple months after all that's happened, when he's now kind of a teenager, etc. And he has a maid. And you eventually go back to what happened in his worst years, essentially. But this is the kind of sentiment of, okay, we're clearly jumping ahead, and now we have the Duke and this cute blonde maid who's like a fucking goth rad chick. Okay. And yeah, so you have the Duke of Death and you have this maid, and this maid loves to like play and like tease and joke with the Duke. It's kind of a catch-all. It's almost like if you have someone who, like, if he touches something, everything dies. Everything is like high stakes all the time, and people are not only afraid of the Duke of Death, the kid, but they're also afraid of like getting close and intimacy and all of these things, because if he touches you, you're dead just immediately. Not even like a second, you're gone. So in order for her to kind of break this and like kind of shake the Duke, it seems like, out of his mental state, she kind of goes to like this weird perversion kind of thing, like, look at my thigh high, look at my booba, or whatever it might be. You know, classic anime stuff, gotta make that money. Anyways, but this is in this context instead of in some shows where it's just like, what is wrong with people? Whereas this show, it's actually like, actually this makes sense. If this is the only way that you can kind of try to break down the wall of this person's isolation and feeling like no one can, like, there's no one that can harmonize with him because he's literally a walking, like, a doomsday bomb for anyone who gets near him. That's terrifying. Whereas there's this girl who is deeply in love with the Duke and gets like right up on top of him constantly, and also uses that as a metric to kind of whatever the opposite of like isolation and like depression is. Like jovial laughter and embarrassment and goofiness, and even some cases arousal, I guess, is the counter to those emotions sometimes. And that is literally what she does constantly. So then and it's funny because they point it out immediately, which is really awesome actually, because the main dude literally points it out lickety split. Now we're getting a little bit into like the spoiler. We're gonna slowly start to evolve that way. I'll tell you though when we start getting really hard in the paint. But in like the first episode, they call it out beautifully, where he's just like, "Stop sexually harassing me, Alice." Like, he's like, "You're just a creep," kind of thing. But I was like, thank you. That's actually true. Like, because all the stuff she's doing is hella odd. But of course, a dumb man who's also like hopelessly in love with this person, who's also hopelessly in love with him, it seems, is just really nice. It's really wholesome to where you're like, okay. All right, you know, like this is, but also I like the fact that they were like, yeah, this is like, this is a lot for anyone to do. So the fact that the guy's like, what's your problem? And it's funny because this main character acts as if he's the harem protagonist, but then flips your expectations and is like, oh wait, no, he's not. He 100% knows what he wants. He 100% says what he wants, but he literally is incapable of getting what he wants because of this curse. Because if he's ever to embrace the one he loves the most, they'll die. And Alice is so head over heels that she's like, kill me, as long as you can be so romantic. But of course, I don't think she actually wants that. I think she just, yeah. And I think there might be something there to where there's like an old, like something to where we're gonna get into spoiler 9, so let's not do that yet. And the back and forth like dichotomy between both of them is just like wholesome. Like that's the best way I could describe it. But if I could go a little bit deeper into it, I think it's actually like it's like hopelessly romantic in the best possible way. Like I always run by like the TV every now and again, and I see like the CW, like the prince that has like a shit ton of money, and then like the communication skills between like the heroine and the prince in this like weird Christmas real life people TV show, movie, whatever's happening. It just seems like the most synthetic, missed the mark. Like literally just a marketing team being like, women want this, men want this, and then they're just like, I think you look beautiful. Oh my God, he's a prince and he also is not arrogant. How charming. It's like the most robotic, synthetic thing I've ever seen. And this show is, to me, of course, I'm anime trash over here, but it is just wonderful. Like, and it actually does make you feel that like hopeless romance. And it's funny because the show is like has an underlying perversion to it, of course, like the idea that, but also like I said, it actually weirdly makes sense in this context. Now, of course, it's almost like, how can we use all the tropes of anime but make contextual sense? And they're like, curses, all that. The main protagonist is a harem protagonist kind of vibe, but also not. Yeah, in fact, I feel like that's wrong because he's literally like trapped within the circumstance of a harem protagonist where he's like, I can't touch anything because that would give us a certain rating, ain't about it. But he also is like, no, let me out. I love this person. I want to be with this person. The last thing I would say is, to me, if you like shows that are like wholesome, if you like shows that are like wonderful in terms of like the story is written relatively well, each episode feels somewhat refreshing, and they jump into a part of the relationship or the fact that the show works is kind of insane because like each episode is not filled with like jam-packed action stuff. It's not filled with like them going on adventures every day. It's literally filled with like the small, like wonderful, oh man, that's so beautiful. I'm sorry, that's so cute too. God damn it, I'm a 25-year-old man. But that's beautiful. It kind of says that, like, at least to me, in this moment, I'm kind of realizing that it shows you that the small, meticulous moments within the day, whether that's having tea with your significant other, whether that's just talking with your significant other, whether that's going out and doing something and actually spending time with your significant other, whether that's just being in the place of friends, or being in the atmosphere with friends and having those connections with people, that is also can hold like such immense wonder and interest within the world. And of course, yes, they add like a curse on it, but like largely, I don't know if I would like. I think I would watch a show even if there wasn't one, because there's like that those simple moments of him interacting with this person that he is hopelessly in love with, and 100% dedicated with, and also vice versa. He seems like or she seems equally as invested in him. Of course, there's the context of him being like a maid and like a duke, and there being like this hierarchy to the relationship and stuff like that, which I think they're going to delve into. But I don't know. That's, to me, is just like the beauty of the show, is the fact that it covers such a simple premise, but it makes you hooked and it makes you want more. It makes you want to get giddy when they're happy and getting closer together, etc. It's beautiful. It's very beautiful. And again, there's so many shows that go larger than life. Like, here's this anime main protagonist that's getting his arm blown off just to show the woman he likes that they like her. And then the woman's like, that's kind of cool. And you're like, what? I mean, you don't have, just say you don't like him. Like, Jesus. To where it's this dude is just like, it's a mess. But yeah, and that's also really nice that so many shows do that thing where it's like conflict for the sake of conflict, you know what I mean? Like, I keep bringing this up because to me, I just notice it more being a thing within storytelling, which to me feels really lazy and frustrating. But there's always like the main protagonist in a lot of animes. It's like a harem thing, or maybe it's not. Maybe it's a romance thing. So then, there's like this dude who's constantly pining, or like is he gonna tell her how she feels? This kind of weird like resistance. And then instead of it like ever coming to a conclusion, they kind of like bait out that resistance constantly, to where like, oh my god, she misunderstood what he was saying, or oh my god, he misunderstood what she was saying, or oh my god, like he loves her to bits and she maybe kind of likes him but doesn't, and it just becomes this kind of mess. Where like nothing ever gets done, no progression is ever made, and for me it's refreshing to see the main heroine that's really, really into the main dude, and the dude not just like, fuck off, get off me, stop it, just like, oh, you fucking hate everything, and you're like, why do you like, well, you are damaged, stop fucking enjoying the person that is clearly toxic. Anyways, but no, they're both just wholesome as hell, and that's so refreshing, because again, there's so many times where I'm watching like these shows that try to be romantic or interesting or something like that, and like they just like go back to the tropes that are tropey. And this one does use tropes, but at least they're different, and at least she is like really into him and constantly that's also the other thing I think that's kind of refreshing about the show, is that the girl is like relentless. She is like the pursuer, a hundo P, like gunning it for this little adorable man with a top hat. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's a really cool moment. That's a really cool part of the show. I think that's what makes it stand out and be different. I'll tell you guys like, hey, do you like Zero to Hero shows? And I'm like, this is a show for you. This is a show that I think, I feel like it's hard not to just find it warm and cozy. Maybe it's me being a hopeless, like kind of romantic person, but also I could see how there could be problems in every relationship, including this one. But yeah, I don't know. To me, on a surface level, I just think it's really hella cute. It's hella cute and hella wholesome, and all that stuff. But now I want to talk about spoilers, but that is my best pitch for the show and the things I truly think it does that no show comes really close to doing. And again, I can't stray enough about how if you think about the show from a pulled back perspective, especially if you take away like the cursed idea, it shouldn't work just because each episode is going over something so simple, like them having tea, him playing piano, him doing XYZ. Or her taking her to the whatever, the fair, the town, going back into some of their backstory, but they make it so painfully interesting. Oh, one more thing before I let you go. We're gonna talk about spoilers. I'm not gonna let you go too much. I'm just gonna let you go for the people who want a quick pitch of the show. But this is where I will say I have a weakness for shows that are like this. I love me monster movies. monster shows, monster anything. I find it awesome, interesting, wholesome, etc. I specifically love when they show monster adjacent universe, whatever kind of things that aren't done in like a completely reductive, been there, done that way. Meaning like the werewolf eats everybody at the end and dies. And you're like, wow, what a shit story. Like, what? Whereas, if they're like, hey, the werewolf actually was the woman this time around, and she did all she did was to protect the person that she loved, and they ended up he saved her at the last minute, and bang, it all works out. Something like that. That's like, oh, that's like a taking a monster movie and making it interesting, and also making it not just a fucking nightmare, where it's like everything is depressing and sad. So this show has that kind of same style and atmosphere. There's witches and wizards, and not all of them are bad. There's the style of it is really cool. I know a lot of people said that they didn't like the 3D modeling of it. I think they're getting significantly better to where I think in like a year, especially with like things like what's it called, that League of Legends anime, I think they're getting good enough at it to where it's actually, to me, seeming fine. There was a point where like whenever you seen a 3D model kind of thing in an anime, it looked like shit, or it looked like it had like an eighth of the budget. Like they had like extra, it had like no frame rate to it. Like it's like they were like, hello, how are you doing? And it was just awful. Whereas this one, it's clean. It's like it has plenty of frame rate, everything's smooth. I don't notice it being too weird. And I think that's why they chose the art style that they did, is because, of course, the kind of like vampiric, Transylvania-like adjacent kind of art style akins itself to that, to this kind of like sharper, more static. In fact, it's meant to look a little off-put, like offset, I meant to say, which to me I think the show uses to its strength. But ladies and gentlemen, now let us get into spoiler land. Okay, so the first things first, the main question that is like the question is, who the hell cursed the main character? Because he did get cursed. Who did it? I don't even think we've seen her yet. Because I think the way they're queuing it up, and this would be where I would think the series goes, is they are going to probably have this weird thing where, well, we know this is something we've seen in the anime itself. By the way, I'm only talking about anime. I haven't seen the manga, even though there's so many volumes. But we've seen that Alice's mom is like in a frozen state. So that's interesting. Like, what do you guys think that's going to birth into? Like, so the mom is going to basically be like the same age as the daughter, except a couple years behind? Is that what we're doing? Also, she's probably going to be hella distraught. But it will also be cool to see her mom be like, Alice, I love you so much. I'm so happy to be back. And then be like, good job, Alice. You got this in the bag. You're getting the Duke's heart easy. I didn't even think this was a chance, but nice. But then there's also this weird like tension within Alice on the topic of that. Where Alice seems like she's really dug into the aristocracy bullshit of like I can't be with you because I'm XYZ, to the point where like I think that's the one like piece of conflict that I'm a little bit frustrated, where it's like, oh, here we go, more conflict. I don't mind conflict. I just like it to not be the conflict I've seen 1,000 times, where it's like, oh, great, same thing. You think one person would be like, maybe we don't do this. Maybe we just say, hey, I'll take what I can get. You love me? Okay. Instead of being like, you love me, there's something wrong with you. That's fucked up. You're toxic. Stop. But yes, I think, to me, I'm curious about what that's gonna be like, and I'm also, I don't know, the show hasn't went that dark yet, but there is this weird underlying thing where they said that when the one butler guy went and got Alice, he said that he took Alice from her auntie, I think is what it was, but apparently it was obvious to the butler that she was being mistreated by the auntie. I'm hoping that doesn't like I think that if there is some sort of resistance, that might be where it is, where like maybe her like auntie like beat her down. Like, I'm not sure if they'll go into other things, but to me what I would think is that literally her auntie probably like got her to do all the house chores, like shit on her, said that she would never be like anything more than just this, this maid, this lower class, and maybe just beat that into her over time. I don't know. I don't know how they're going to explain Alice's kind of abrasion to that. But also, this is the other thing that I don't know if you guys remember, but when Alice first interacted with the redheaded like cute friend, bat, when they interacted for the first time, there was clearly something where she was just like, I need to talk to you. So I guess that means that Alice is probably a witch. But then there begs the question, does that mean Alice's mom is a witch? And then there kind of is this tangled plot of like, who is the guy who cursed him? So to me, it's like, okay, I feel like there's two witches, and then Alice's mom is also a witch, and these two witches went to abduct Alice's mom, and somehow this other lady who's like a badass witch cursed the Duke kid. Also, our only like breadcrumb is that she had a big booba because he's like, I felt melons on my back, and he's like, you're a pervert. Okay, it's disgusting. Anyways, but I feel like that's the way it's gonna play it. I feel like the story we're probably gonna in some way go try to get Alice's mom out of there after dealing with the one like Day of the Dead skull lady who's scarred and whatnot in the face. I think we're probably gonna go get her mom back. I don't know how that's gonna work. I feel like, yeah, I don't know how that's gonna work because I don't think they're gonna meet the deadline. I think what's gonna probably happen is by that point, by the time he needs to get the curse fixed, he's going to have reunited the mom with Alice's mom. And they're gonna pick up where they left off. I think. But yes, I think then there's gonna be a next chapter, which is, okay, now your mom probably has a lot. Now Alice's mom has a lot to tell him about where to go next, and like what you need to do to go next. Or it could be a different thing entirely, where they beat the skull lady, and then Alice is literally looking at her young mom in like a casket, and she's like, we gotta figure this out. And then she's kind of probably torn between like, do I fucking help my mom, or do I help the love of my life kind of thing. And maybe that's even, oh man, I don't want them to do that. I'm thinking through the guise of like, what do you call it? I really hope they don't do that. They may do that, which honestly may not be even the worst, but they might go like, okay, so now Alice has this like contention within her where she's like, oh, do I pick the mom that I love to bits, that I would like to have a mom again? Or do I pick the love of my life, this man? And maybe there's like, the witch is going to be like, hey Alice, I planned this. I knew, hey, here's this vial that could either revive your mom or revive the Duke, or like take the Duke's curse off. Now you have to choose. Guess what? He doesn't get to have love because I'm a bitch, whatever the witch is. I could see them doing that bullshit, and then I think they were probably rounded off with like the Duke being a fucking badass and probably like grabbing whatever vial and being like, it's your mom's. Like, what are you talking about? You're not even gonna have to make the choice. Boom, I'll live with a curse for the rest of my life. You deserve a mom. Goodbye. Especially considering he feels so probably jaded towards his mom. He probably wants her to have her mom. And then, because that's what they're kind of hinting at throughout the entire show, I could see them being like, she's so like, holy shit, you did that for me, and then probably like lunges at him with a kiss, and then that's the whole like true love's kiss, someone who is willing to die just to be with you kind of harmony breaks that curse, or something like that. Which to me, I think would be a pretty cute way to end it. That's probably not what's gonna happen. That's just my guess. About the way I think things could sequence, and the way that if they are trying to like, there's clearly this witch that says, you specifically are not to be loved. I have a curse that kind of gets that job fixed. It's basically, you touch anything, you're dead. You're dead. They're dead. But here I noticed that, you're trying to, you're basically beating my curse. You're like, you found someone who doesn't need intimacy, but still loves you so much that she's willing to be with you. But yet still wants intimacy, etc., but just willing to make that trade-off. And then she's like, hey, here it is. Eat it. Boom. And then leaving Alice in that weird place. Because Alice seems like the one that's that ultimatum weirdness. Where I feel like the Duke, if you were to put it on to him, the Duke would make an instant choice. Because I feel like he seems like he is in. Like, Alice seems like she is devoted, but the one dude seems like he is, how do I put it, like all in. It's hard, like there's devotion, and then there's a person who's like, yeah, no, I would drop you don't understand, like I would have died without you, so this. So I could totally see him doing anything like that to be, like, again, if he was ever given the choice between seeing Alice choose him or the mom, in terms of to break the curse of forever sleep or to break the curse of the touch of death, he would just like, choose your fucking mom. Like, what do we do? What? Choose your mom. If I have to live miserably, whatever. Like, I'm kind of content with, just how things are. So yeah. Also, one thing I want to talk about, because I don't want to really mention it because it's a little bit of a spoiler, but the main friends that come into his life is so nice. Like the one redheaded chick. See, that's the thing where I'm like, do people really not like the 3D modeling that much? Because I think the one like redheaded bob cut girl, so cute, absolutely so cute. The way they make her kind of derpy is unlucky, unfortunate. Also, the mom, dude. So we're bouncing around a little bit too much, but I love the friendship goofiness, especially when it's like true friendship are these outcast people who, yes, of course, they would interface perfectly with the Duke because he's an outcast and whatnot. But then there's the other thing where the mom, dude, the mom is the. They do. I knew they were gonna do that shit. I'm sure you knew they were gonna do that shit where they're like, hey. He's growing up real good. And you're like, fuck you, you're a rat. Like, what happened? And of course, they're probably going to make us empathize, but they're probably going to be like, oh, she's seen that her son, like, was going to have to hold the burden of the family, of what it means to be a Duke, all of these things. And you were just a kind kid. I needed you to be more than just a sweet, kind kid. I needed you to be someone who could, hold the family atop head. Maybe that's because when he was young, the father was sick, and she was like, "This is meaning it's gonna fall on your shoulders, so I need to find a way to make you strong." But I still don't. The whole premise is that the mom is all she did was complain, but then there's also a moment at the very end where she's like, "Finally stood up to me, nice." And she doesn't seem like she's gonna get in the way too much about him doing that, or she's just gonna make it like very clear that no, you gotta prove to me that you love this person more than anything, kind of idea. It seems like very much like a person that's like, prove it to me, and you're like, bitch, you're not worth proving anything to. Get away from me, what's your problem? Anyways, but yeah, the mom seems like a story they're probably gonna make us empathize with, but right now, what a bee. And the last thing I want to talk to you guys about was what do you call it? I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about this. They make Alice so like awesome. She's like the goth aesthetic, but also not. She's like born as an angel, choose to be a demon, whatever nonsense. Just like it's like the perfect goth aesthetic. It's like just hell yeah. We got so many few anime that rock it, that show like do justice by like, oh my god, that eyeliner game is looking clean, and I'm into it. Okay. This was the last thing I want to talk to you guys about. I really, and this is maybe just like my zero to hero isekai like anime watching whatever person in me, but I would really love it to show, like, to me there's a lot of ways this story could end. I would really like it if the Duke owned his curse instead of letting it define him. I don't know the way they're going to do it. It seems like they're kind of pushed down the road of like true love's kiss breaks this curse, but I would love it even if they do that, if all it does is make the curse work for him, because right now he is in a place of like incredible danger all the time. So there's two things I want to happen basically. One, I would love it if they made it so that his curse was like could get ratcheted up times 10 if he got serious in any way, because right now as he is, he's very fragile and very weak, and yeah, so like this idea that anything he touches it dies, it gives him a lot of security and safety as well as like, a curse, kind of like a positive and negative. But I would love if there was a moment where like Alice got in the way of the fire, or his friends got in the way of the fire, and he like touches the ground and like literally breaks the ground itself, like just rots, dissolves into nothing, decays. It kind of showing that like everything has a life force, and I can drain everything if I really wanted to, in order to save the people he liked or loved. That to me would be a cool moment, I guess. I want a badass moment where our little slender man guy just goes, fuck you. Just like, not happening. In a cool way. Hopefully he doesn't kill anyone, because he does seem like he's trying to not become death incarnate, which is good. But I would also love it if maybe there was an arc that literally had him control it, like control that, like, yes, you are death, but you can kind of, yeah, if there was any way to kind of hone that skill, like to make it so that like not everything, like maybe he could decay something from afar, maybe he could decay specific things, maybe making metal like rust or something like that, like anything that could give him control or utility within this thing, because he does seem like he's not a witch, he's not like inherently magic, but he has this curse, and it would be cool if it wasn't just the most basic one-to-one the kind of thing, because to me there's still this question of like the guy is gonna need to be protected and etc. And unless they make him like an incredibly intelligent strategist, I don't know how he's going to fare with harmonizing with all the crazy things within in his future, which there's witches that are maybe going to hunt him. There is like clearly, like, you know, he's going to become a duke. That's probably going to have a lot of, you know, assassin people or whatever trying to get you. So there's clearly a bunch of weight to that burden. It'd be cool if he didn't just have a butler who's old and going to die, and a cute wife and some cool friends. You know, it'd be cool if he somehow like showed himself to be like a strategist or something, to where like he's like, no, I'm gonna be the best. Like, I'm unapologetically gonna be the person that is should have been the Duke from the get-go, because there's that weird contention with his brother, which is interesting. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I basically would just like a cool zero to hero moment for him a little bit, because right now he is kind of like, he's really fragile, but at the same time deadly. And it would be cool if they kind of, throughout the series, improved on that fragileness and actually gave him like a utility set that made you be like, no, our boy's going to be okay. Our boy's not just going to get lucky by plot armor. He's going to have figured out a way to be the person that dominates through strategy, maybe through harmonization of not judging things, so he's actually able to use some magic for himself, because he's not a douche who's like, witches are evil, rah! Even though he should because of his curse, but he still doesn't have that, maybe because of loneliness. But ladies and gentlemen, I digress. I could talk about the show for hours, but alas, I'll have to leave you. I'm so happy we're getting a season 2. I'll probably talk your ear off again when there is a season 2. Thank you so much for your time. Hopefully you guys do enjoy the rest of your day. This show was an absolute banger. I'd highly suggest watching it. We talk about many things on the channel also. Whenever I watch a show that I think is absolutely magical, or just good, I wanted to talk about it and infer things with you guys. We do that. So yes. So hopefully I can see you again in another video. Let me know if you guys have watched the show and if you guys like it just as much as me. I could have watched it just when I needed to watch this kind of show. Like, sometimes a show, and you've been watching a lot of like high intensity, crazy, like intricate world rules kind of show, and then you have this, which is literally just like the most warm blanket hug you could ever want. And if you're a hopeless romantic, then I think it'll be right up your alley. Also, if you like that monster aesthetic, or if you like the goth girl aesthetic, also huge. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you enjoy the rest of your day, and goodbye.